Hello, everybody. Welcome to a last minute, just impromptu stream of exploring Avatar with my friend Drew from Avatar Sequels. Uh, but yeah, apparently, James Cameron decided to drop some bombs today on like an Entertainment Weekly article. So we're like, hey, let's just cover it live. So hello to everybody here. Thanks for joining us last minute. But yeah. Drew, did you anticipate like this random article from Entertainment Weekly to drop probably some of the biggest Kiri news ever?
Yeah, I didn't anticipate it at all. Not that we were going to get anything else today, or the Kiri news. So I was definitely caught off guard.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's just say hi. We got Afton Child, Brianna Brown. Hello, thank you for joining us. Is this live? Yes, we are live. But all right, yeah, we'll just kind of run. It's going to be a quick one today, maybe an hour, the latest. But we'll run through an article where James Cameron breaks down four different scenes, and they actually give us new images for each of those. So we got four new images. Some of the stuff we already knew. So we're gonna start from like the least exciting in the way of like it gives us the least new information, and we'll work our way to the fourth one being the Kiri like bombshells that he kind of dropped right there nonchalantly. So we'll save the Kiri information for the end to obviously kind of go back and forth with you guys to see. We'll just kind of like discuss it together. But yeah, so it was this article on Entertainment Weekly earlier today, and we'll start with the scene of the Tulkun. So it gives us a new picture. I'll bring it up now of Loak with Payakan. So it's this picture here, and that's Loak, and that's the damaged fin from Payakan. And you would have seen that if you got that scene as one of the three possible end credit scenes after the Avatar remaster recently. But yeah, so we're gonna read what he had to say describing this what this picture pertains to. So I'll get that right up. And if you want, Drew, like I could read one and then you could read the other because there's four of them, so it kind of two and two if that works for you.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll let you go first, buddy.
Yeah. All right. So here's the one describing the Tulkun picture. So he says, the first image sees Kiri swimming underwater. Of course, we're going to get to that one at the end. Among all the various forms of sea life, Cameron estimates there are probably 10 or 20 times of what we see here when it comes to total creatures designed for the film. Among the new, it says begins, but I'm assuming maybe beings introduced in the way of water are the Tulkun, which appears similar to the whales of Earth. We treat the Tulkun as characters, says Cameron. They are slightly transcendent animals that have some degree of consciousness and culture. They're intelligent, highly cultured, highly linguistic. They interact with the ocean Navi as equals. The Tulkun also share the same religion as the Metkayina. Typically, Tulkun have large petrel wings like a humpback whale, as well as a cephalic fin, like an end fin. This Tulkun, however, has seen better days. Two-thirds of its cephalic fin has been blown off, which speaks to the film's wider warfare. You're actually seeing a damaged, scarred Tulkun, Cameron says. You see the scar down across his eye and the scar tissue at the end of the fin where it was amputated. There's a lot going on in that image. As we discuss it, bring the image back up. But we know that this is actually Payakan, right, Drew?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
And
And
something that stood out right there was that the Metkayina and the Tulkun share the same religion. I found that
yeah,
very interesting.
I'd almost forgotten. I think somewhere we had heard that maybe once before because it sounds sort of familiar, but it wasn't something they've kept repeating. So that'd be interesting
Right.
to see how that works out. But I wonder if that's in we got another picture here. What the scene, also one of those three after the remaster, where Tonowari talks about the Tulkun way. I wonder if that is the name of the religion, or if it's something completely, different that we haven't even heard what it's called yet.
It's very interesting because I never really thought about the different clans having different religions per se. So I'm kind of excited to see what that is.
Yeah, I guess we kind of just assumed that, just like the Metkayina, kind of like it, they just kept referencing Awa and all that. I guess we just assumed that was kind of like Pandora wide, and that's what they would identify as their, religion in a way. But but yeah, that's very interesting. But yeah, this one was the one that gave us the least bit of new information. Um, Anything else that kind of, I mean, we do get the confirmation that his fin was actually blown off, but we kind of assumed that in the scene when we see like a harpoon. I believe on the other side he still had like a harpoon stuck on it. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that Loak
basically,
release form.
yeah. So he got into a confrontation with the RDA, and I wonder if during this conflict is where Tonowari mentions, that he killed, and which now makes him the outcast. Whereas, like I mentioned before, I think that the trailers have been misleading us a little bit. I think it can apply to like the Sully children if maybe they're looked at a little different by the other clan, but we do know that Tonowari says outcast to Payakan because he killed, because the Tulkun way, which like we said, we don't know if that's the religion, does mention not to kill no matter the reason. So yeah.
Which is very interesting because, I mean, just looking at the damage he sustained, that huge scar on his large eye, and then his fin being blown off, the other fin having a harpoon through it. Like, man, if that isn't reason to kill, I mean, which is interesting because it's he's probably not just like some kind of crazed killer going around killing everybody. It looks like he
No.
probably, we're going to assume he did in self defense. But even then, that's still breaking this code that they have. I found that very interesting. So I wonder if that
Yeah,
ties into the religion aspect as well.
exactly. I was kind of even wondering, I'm like, was it maybe in defense of Loak? Kind of like a predecessor to the scene where we see, Loak wake up on top of Payakan. I wonder if like that was preceded it. I know the wounds look like they're not so fresh, but I do know somebody in my comments told me that, underwater, the wounds can quickly look, like they're a little older, instead of
Oh, that's
just
interesting.
continuously looking fresh, even hours later. So maybe it wasn't defense. That's how they kind of, because he did say he saved my life. It could have been, from an RDA attack, or it could have just been like Loak was out there, because we did get that concept art of what looks like Loak on, because he has the same armband that he has there on his left arm, on that
Oh,
Elu, where it looks like it's during like a thunderstorm or some kind of storm at sea. So
right.
I'm in the two camps. Maybe he either saved him from RDA, or he kind of saved him from like, maybe just like being out there, possibly about to drown or something from that storm.
That will be interesting to see because I'm assuming whichever it is, or if it's something else that we haven't even seen yet. I mean, that's going to be what causes this bond between these two. Even at the even though he might draw the ire of the Metkayina who are helping out his family, he's still going to choose, I believe, this friendship with this, creature that's essentially looked down upon by the Metkayina. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, and it's already one of my one of the kind of side plots, probably, if you will call it that. going into the movie is to see their their bond, how it forms and basically how it kind of grows throughout this movie, and obviously we could see it grow even further in the other sequels, because he did say, I believe, in the total film, which it's kind of crazy because it's like just either today or I don't even know what day I'm in. I think last night, but today, because it's a UK magazine, that total film one came out, and he did state that this ocean setting is not just one that's going to be abandoned after the Way of Water. He actually said it was going to last, like we're at least going to touch on it throughout all 4 sequels. That was the first time I'd actually heard that. I thought maybe just 2 and 3, which is why maybe they were just logistically shoot those back to back. But we could touch on it again for 3, 4, and 5 as well.
I think that's fun because, I mean, we don't know who's going to survive or who's going to fall, but I love that we're going to get to know some of these characters, but not just for one movie, but possibly for the rest of the franchise. So, I mean, that is a real investment. So I'm excited for that.
Exactly. And but yeah, what do you guys think about this image? Anything you guys are able to point out that maybe we haven't? Let us know right now down below. So let's see. Okay, Ty Cox, I think he solved it, man. He said the fin might have been ripped off by a lightsaber. Oh god, here we go. Last stream we got the MCU creeped in, and now in this stream, Star Wars had to creep in. Let's see. They worship Awa, but different clans interpret her will different based on their environment and their rules, as well as Awa's 3 rules. That's actually an interesting way of putting it, because in a way that kind of reflects us here, how I mean, not to really, get deep into religion or anything, but one culture can kind of see things a little bit, from like this angle over here, and then this one over here a little different, where it might seem like they're actually a little different when they're not, when there might be even just talking up. You understand what I mean? Like it could be the same thing, but just kind of like a whole new, a country or a whole new culture can just see things a little bit differently, even though you might be talking about the same deity or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We see that all the time, with say like the Christian faith, and there's a bunch of different denominations or branches.
Mm-hmm.
They may vary wildly, but they kind of have the same core beliefs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's actually like really interesting. And wonder, like they said, because of also they're based on their environment too. I still think that tree that we've seen heavily referenced, that underwater tree. I still think that's where their main connection to Awa is going to be, and maybe they don't even call it Awa, or maybe they do, but maybe what if they have like a different, you know what I mean, a different name for it or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that works for them. And like, was that underwater, quote unquote, what we're calling a tree, was that their tree of souls? Was that just one of them? I'm excited to learn more about that.
Exactly. And then we kind of theorized together on one of the last ones that maybe it's at the site of the that cove of the ancestors. We're thinking maybe it's down there down there underneath the water. So yeah, that'll be very interesting, because there's also like really cool formations. Like I know people always like say it's kind of like some space launching thing, but yeah, kind of like those circular elements that you've seen in like the concept art, and even in that first initial teaser shot during the day, kind of looking onto it. But Afton Child here says, I didn't even know he had the scar on his eye. And honestly, yeah, me too. Like maybe I noticed it when I saw the scene, but I think maybe just trying to take in all kinds of information at once, I forgot about the scar on the eye too. So I kind of saw that and I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even really. I knew the fin, but I didn't remember the scar. Did you remember the scar for sure? Or
I
did you
didn't,
see that
and
scene?
yeah, that was the scene I saw, and I didn't remember the scar.
Oh,
But
okay,
again, like you, I was just taking it all in. It was it was
exactly,
probably hard to focus on all the details because I was just like mind blown when I was watching it.
exactly. All right, and so we'll go on to do. Let's see here. The second one, we'll do them on the Banshee. So this was another image we got here. So we have Jake next to Neytiri to his right, and then behind both of them we have Netayam also on a Banshee. And I'll bring up the quotes on this one, and you can tackle those for us. Let's see. All right, here's the first part, and I'll bring up the other part once you get to that bottom.
What pushes Jake's family out of the rainforest towards the ocean? A bunch of bad S, Cameron says. It begins with the Na'vi parents flying over the floating islands on the backs of banshees, along with their eldest son, Netayam. A concerned call from one of their other children sends them back, and from there, the story's on, says the director. Now, 15 years older, Jake and Neytiri have a different view of life. Becoming a parent changes so much of your behavior and your value system, Cameron says. What we saw in the first film were people who were fearless. Jake would throw himself off his Ikran into a Leonoptrix. Remember those avatar creatures? But is a father of four going to do that? I'm thinking probably not, because they have a duty to survive. It doesn't mean he's a coward, but it means his priorities change. Cameron adds that Jake is waging guerrilla warfare against the RDA as he grapples with fatherhood and his past as a warrior. He's trying to keep his kids alive and adjust to his own life, the director says. Is he still a warrior? Are these young boys who are 14, 15, 16 coming up, getting all excited about wanting to go to war and fight for their people and for their land? How's Jake going to be a hypocrite and hold them back when he has to go do it? Cameron may be speaking from personal experience, especially more recently with his younger children with wife Susie Amos. I've seen the teen years and I've lived through them all, and it can be no fun at all, he remarks. A lot of anxiety, a lot of quest for identity, a lot of trying to be heard and seen.
All right, so I'll put the picture back on the screen. And here too, I believe a lot of the similar things we've heard from the past. It kind of was one of the criticisms he had recently towards the MCU was like that they all act like college kids, and they act like they don't have any priorities other than themselves or families to maybe think about when they do their things. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting dynamic, especially because a lot of us, at least I can include myself in that group. Now, when this sequel comes out, I believe you as well. Now we have families, so it's going to be relatable for a lot of those, people that were younger at the time and didn't have families, but now to see the sequel, we can relate to it as well. And then it generational as well, where like even younger kids that are barely getting into it, now they'll have those younger kids to kind of be like that's their entry into this world. As us, at least we can maybe even relate to the parent aspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think everybody can relate, whether you're a parent or whether you're a child yourself. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you fill a role and you're going to be able to see one of these or maybe two of these or even more of these characters and be like, hey, I relate to what's going on there. Whether it's the Jake
Yeah.
Neytiri role or one of the kids, I think that's really awesome. Great idea.
And he's used it before. You kind of had a sort of this family dynamic when it came to Terminator 2. That sequel with the whole Arnold and John Connor. Sort of motherly role with Ripley and the little girl in Aliens, another sequel. So it's kind of like in his sequels, bringing that family element though. It's proven to work in the past. So, but yeah, man, I'm excited to see that whole thing, just this whole family. Uh, so I'm excited that it's not just the same two characters, but now we kind of like we're gonna even meet these 4 or 5 other kids and this whole new clan, and just how everything goes down is gonna be super interesting. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and I love this picture because I mean, like we've talked about before, we're excited to see the Metkayina and all the new stuff that's going to come with that. But I'm also excited to check out what Jake and Neytiri were doing as they still lived in the forest with the Metkayina clan. It's nice to see Nethiam again because we haven't seen him a ton, even though we've seen him more now. So I mean, I
Yeah,
love that we actually get to see another photo with him included in it.
exactly. And let's see here. Somebody had a good point there. Let's see. Where was it? I think you would be able to speak to this better than me. They said Christina says, "Really hope they don't make Neytiri's new Ikran just look exactly like Seze. That would be such a cop out." Uh, does it look like very similar?
I think they all, I mean, unless they're like a totally different color, I think all of the green and blue ones, I mean, kind of look the
Yeah,
same. I mean, that's not
yeah,
Seze right there. That's her new one.
yeah.
So,
No,
I mean,
yeah. I'm like, yeah, like you said, as long as the base color is like this similar shade, it's kind of hard until you get like really, really good shots of of the design from overhead or something. I really liked in the little high ground preview where we saw Loak kind of trying to bond with like an orange colored one, and then and all that.
yeah,
Like,
that thing was awesome.
yeah, it's like, and even some of the ones that McFarlane Toys has come out with, I'm like, we need to get some of those, like where it's not you're not working on like the same base color, you change that base color to like a yellow or orange or something crazy so that they kind of look like drastically different. And I'm sure we'll see that down the road, or once we see the movie, we'll be like, oh yeah, we could easily tell. But yeah, like more changing in the base colors would be pretty good. Speaking of
Yeah, I
that,
wish they did go. I wish they did create a more different color palette for all of them. I think it'd be fun, but hey, I'll take it.
speaking of that, very quickly, now that we're talking about banshees and all that, I want to get your take on. I know it's a separate thing, but the total film was talking about Quaritch, and I even made a recent video about it. But the very interesting part was it confirmed. Stephen Lang even confirmed in his quotes that Quaritch will adapt to the Navi weapons, but also their modes of travel. And he specifically pointed out the Banshees. Like, what's your take on that? Because for me, it had me like super pumped and super excited.
Man, yeah, that's gonna be wild to see exactly how far they go with that. Is it just gonna be the Banshees? It didn't sound that way.
Yeah, no, yeah, no.
So,
But yeah.
I mean, yeah, could he end up with a Tulkun? I mean, that could, you know, there's no
Oh,
telling.
the Taruk, the Taruk. He's gonna go off the Taruk.
Oh,
Man, I know somebody
that
made,
now
but
that
somebody
would be
wrote that
a
in my
interesting
comments.
twist.
Somebody wrote that in my comments. They're like, did you hear that Quaritch is gonna get like he's gonna become Taruk Makto, or he's gonna get the Taruk?" And I'm like, what? But now that quote came out, and I'm like,
That would
ooh,
be
maybe something exciting like that, and that would be very interesting. You know, obviously that happens, and it's man, it create a lot of turmoil because Navi are supposed to, follow whoever is the Taruk Makto. So that would be very interesting. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, type of thing. But just in general, I just love that there's confirmation that down the road, my biggest takeaway was it's not going to remain like the same note over and over, like him basically representing the human military and they're representing like the natives. Like he's going to adapt to that too. So even their battles later on, whether it be towards the end of this movie or just other sequels, they could become very different. So even though they're battling the same character, he's battling with his own inner turmoil, and he's adapting to more and more to the Pandoran ways. So just the battles themselves can look very different.
Well, and I think that brings up an interesting point because before there hasn't been a ton of RDA fans, understandably. I mean, they're clearly the bad guys. What they stand for isn't good, but I can see it blurring the lines a little bit. Like people might really love Quaritch and the recoms because in a lot of ways they kind of resemble the Not V, if they're flying on Ikrans and things like that. It might kind of blur those lines for some fans. Less about the message and more just about the cool factor of what the characters are going to bring. So it'll be interesting to see that play out.
And because it kind of pointed out, at least my takeaway was that it's not. It's like they will have the memories, but he even said right there he's trying to grapple with like, who is he, what is he. So maybe a lot of these recoms are maybe some of them will eventually start questioning that kind of stuff as well. So it'll probably make sense why maybe some of them could even switch allegiances, but we'll get to that when we see the movie. But let's move on to the third one here, which was this image of Tonowari, Ronal, and Aonung. I believe that's how you pronounce. I could be completely wrong. I apologize. The two boys in the Metkayina are the ones I have the most trouble pronouncing, so I apologize if I get it wrong. But yeah, this is actually taken from one of those scenes as well. It was the one where he's scolding Tsireya and Loak about Loak bonding with Payakan because Payakan's an outcast, and he kind of explains why, which we've already touched on. But now let's read what Cameron had to say about this one. He says, with the ocean comes the Metkayina, a clan of Na'vi who dwell in shallow waters. Unlike the Metkayina clan, whose Na'vi thrive on land, those in the Metkayina have biologically adapted to aquatic life. They are marked by tails and fin-like strakes that help them propel through the water. Wow. Okay. Cameron didn't want to take the web feet approach. I set myself up for this one. Like just about every other film since 1954's Creature from the Black Lagoon, what the crew created instead was something for the actors performing in tanks of water with motion capture equipment to emulate these strike appendages. We essentially gave them jetpacks, and they were able to trigger the jetpacks themselves on the fly, Cameron reveals. Oh my god, this is nuts. So they'd complete a stroke, and when they're in the glide phase of the stroke, they trigger the jetpack with a little tiny switch, and it would push them forward a couple of meters. They'd move their hips like if they had a tail. We called it the crocodile swim. Ronal and Tonowari, Kate Winslet and Cliff Curtis, lead these Na'vi in the Metkayina as chieftains. A pregnant Ronal is seen in the background of this scene, as Tonowari explains something important about the culture of the Metkayina and the Tulkun. Their specific tattoos, inspired by Polynesian and Melanesian culture, signify their authority. She's the Sahik, the spiritual leader, the shaman, the keeper of wisdom. Cameron says the male leader, who's called the Oloektan, handles the day-to-day, which is hunting, weaving, any kind of fabrication work. He's like the secular leader, and she's the spiritual leader. For major decisions, if it doesn't clearly fall into one camp or the other, but it affects everybody. They need each other's agreement, so even though you see Tonowari as this big, strong, alpha male type leader, he doesn't make a move without Ronaldo's wisdom. The film suggests he has met Tonowari before when Na'vi clan leaders got together sometime in the past to discuss the RDA's ravaging of Pandora. Jake knows him, Cameron confirms, but he's never spent time at Tonowari's village before, so there's a tension between these two guys. They respect each other, but Jake is asking for something that's quite dangerous for Tonowari. Okay. So what are your initial takeaways from all that?
Well, from the beginning, the very first thing that really stood out was just the fact that not only did the actors have to learn to hold their breath, but I mean, they have a switch that helps propel them. Like, man, that's a
This is
lot. I mean,
crazy.
they asked a lot of those guys and girls.
I'm tired just hearing about it. I'm like, oh my god, that's a lot. So it's like, really, guys, when you watch this, just like when you're watching these scenes, think not only did they have to hold their breath, or learn this like sign language because they had to motion capture that as well, but now this whole other element that we heard a little bit about in like the I believe they touched upon it in the preview page of the art book, to where I first heard that of the jetpacks. But it's just crazy. Like, can you imagine like having to basically do all these things at once? You gotta hold your breath the entire time, holding your breath, but then remembering that mid glide you have to hit the button, and oh my god, and then crocodile swim. It's insane,
And
bro.
we're not talking like no name actors. I mean, you've got, I mean, Kate Winslet, like, she's huge, I mean, you got her to buy in to do all this, to become so good at holding her breath. I mean, Sigourney Weaver,
7 minutes, yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. I think it's awesome that they all bought in and were able to just master these skills. Because every other movie you watch is just a CGI character, No one actually did the movements. But man, props to them for doing that because I know it's just going to help it look that much better.
Exactly. Like, just the holding of the breath was already incredible enough, but then just all these other little elements that like you said, honestly, like a lot of this could have just uh done on the computer, but it's like he wanted the real motion for everything, even something like that, just like move, wiggle your hips like if you have a tail, like just things like that. It's crazy, and it's gonna just make me appreciate the movie, honestly, like just so much more watching it. Even though the first one, I already appreciated that so much, and all the work they put into that, but it's like, man, this seems like 2 or 3 times as hard. So props to all the cast, man, cast and crew.
Well, I remember how they made them swim in the first one. There's a quick shot of Jake and Neytiri swimming in the water, and they put them on an office chair and they made swimming motions while they mocapped them. So we've gone from that to this. Like, that's mind blowing.
That's crazy. And it's funny because he said, also in that total film one, that the reason we're seeing Neytiri not really be comfortable in the water, like or really she's not gonna really vibe like right off the bat with like the whole water element, because what he
Mhm.
said what he did was he implemented her actual, like, I don't know if it was fear, but just her not really liking the water or really wanting to do this water stuff just as a person. I kind of actually implemented that into the character. So when we watch the movie, we're going to see that Neytiri is going to be the one that least like ends up liking the whole water aspect, at least at first.
That's interesting. And I mean, I like that he kind of played off of how she actually felt about it too. I mean, that just helps bring the character to life even more. I mean, you
Exactly.
don't get any more authentic than that. And the other thing that really stood out to me is I love how he has made it so this culture, and not just the Metkayina, but Na'vi in general, you have the clan leader who isn't always, but is male in this instance, and then you have the Sahik who's female, and I just love that they both play a huge role in making big decisions for the clan.
Big
It's not
decisions. Yeah.
just Tonowari deciding everything because he's the leader. Ronal has just as much say. It might be a different type, but it takes both of them. Love that.
Exactly. And I love that just looking at him here, I love that we already know so much of what he's wearing, what the tattoos already represent, just from that one 2-page spread from the visual dictionary. We know he's rocking the like Akula teeth, necklace thing going on there. His little sash thing is like what they get when they go through their version of the Ikni Maya. We know what the tattoos mean. It's already cool. Like I love that before, back when I was younger with the Star Wars movies, getting those DK books and kind of like that when you rewatch the movie and stuff. For me, at least, it was kind of exciting knowing like, oh, I know this, the lore behind that little element or that one. You know what I mean? Even though if in the movie it might not be that important, but I like that little lore just to know it.
Yeah, I do too, because so much of that planning goes into it, and when we get a book like that, it helps us know those little details and just appreciate the world more. It adds so much depth to what we're seeing instead of just like, oh, that looks cool. Well, we know exactly why he's wearing it, you know. That I mean, and
Exactly.
exactly what they are. Like you mentioned, the teeth. Like otherwise, it just looks like some really cool rocks to me. I mean, I didn't know that was actually teeth.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, there's so much to it though. I can't wait to get that book.
Man, and just so much to even the actual movie itself that I remember, and I believe just our last one when we were talking about the trailer, where people pointed out there's so much that we know is in there that we just haven't even seen play out in trailers or like little TV spots yet. um so that's even great. I love that they're holding back so much, because honestly we haven't even seen the Akula besides like a McFarlane toy. You know what I mean? To know that it kind of
Right.
more looks like more like their version of probably like a great white shark or something. So that's cool. And especially all the RDA stuff and everything. But yeah, I love that there's still so much too that we just haven't seen. So I'm excited for all that. But I think this takes us to everybody here probably wants to know or probably already knows, but let's discuss it together. But we'll have Drew read it first. But first, let's look at the picture, and that's the whole Kiri scene that he breaks down. But here's the picture first, and it's more of the when the kids are in the ocean. But actually, let's actually go to what he says about this. So I'll bring that up for you. Here's the first part.
Here we see, essentially, fish out of water characters, says Cameron, or as we like to call it in the writing room, the unfish in water. Kiri is one of the unfish in water characters. Sigourney Weaver, in a brand new role after appearing as Dr. Grace Augustine in Avatar, plays Kiri, Jake and Neytiri's adopted 15-year-old daughter, seen here taking her first swim in the Pandoran waters. The origins of Kiri are complicated. She is a naturally conceived Na'vi raised in the rainforest. It's just that she's born of Grace's avatar, Cameron explains. It's a natural birth, but the avatar is brain dead. But she's not. She's normal. Kiri is going through some emotional stuff. By the time she's seen swimming underwater, Cameron points out, it's a scene in which all the kids in the Sully family, including Nethiam, Loak, Tuk, and the adopted human child Spider, jump into the ocean for the first time and experience the wonder. For Kiri, she goes from this anxious and depressed state to one that's joyful and reconnected over the course of a 3-minute scene, Cameron says. Kiri's joy is enhanced from this moment, more so than her siblings. She's a character who's a true sensitive, Cameron adds. She's a person who's very connected to the world around them, far beyond a normal Na'vi, to the animals, to the plants, and to the rhythm and balance of life. When she jumps into the ocean, she has this transformative experience.
Okay. All right. So there's like 10 points just
There's a lot there.
There is so much there, and guys, this was the description, of a scene or whatever you say that actually made us be like, okay, we gotta just impromptu, just last minute, we gotta set this stream up, we gotta just talk to people, like what. Everybody had been theorizing for so long, and okay, so the gist of it is, at least you can correct me afterwards if I'm wrong or if you have a different takeaway, but and then people in the chat as well, dive in, no pun intended. Basically Grace's avatar body gave birth to Kiri. They preserved Grace, yet Grace's avatar body is brain dead, but Kiri's not. She's normal, and she was naturally conceived. So that means there is a father, or so somebody's the father. So she's not a reincarnation of Grace. She's literally Grace's biological daughter. Is that your takeaway too?
Yeah, it is, and I think it's interesting that he spelled it out for us, and it's nothing really crazy. It's nothing that's like unheard of. But
Yeah.
I thought we might go until the last one not fully understanding Kiri. So the fact that he just laid it all out, here it is, here's what she is, like really blew my mind. First of all, I thought it was interesting that he called her not V. To me, that kind of implies that it wasn't maybe Grace and another avatar that are the parents, like maybe Grace and a not V, versus two avatars. And I also thought it was kind
Yeah.
of interesting that he used the word that her avatar is brain dead, because really, I mean, any avatar that's not connected via link to his driver is brain dead. So I thought that was just kind of funny that he called her brain dead, but also goes to show, I'm going to assume that they kept her avatar body after the failed transfer through AWA, and I don't know, at some point, or maybe someone knew that she was pregnant already. It's kind of interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how that played out exactly.
Yeah, and just very quick, Christina Garcia here says, thinking Grace's avatar being pregnant at the Tree of Souls, Kiri's stripes look exactly like Grace's, and they're supposed to be unique, like fingerprints. Kind of hints there was no father. See, in my mind, like, would right away go there, but I mean, he did state naturally conceived, right? I mean, that implies that there was, because if not, it would be an immaculate conception, like Jesus, right?
Right, and her
Which,
stripes aren't exactly like Grace's. They are very similar, and that diamond on her forehead is very, very much like Grace's, but her stripes are not identical.
yeah. So, like that with like a lot of people, like I would first go to like, oh, okay, so then that means maybe AWA kind of in a weird way, just impregnated Grace's avatar body or something. But I mean, he did state, like you said, the keyword there, like Navi, and naturally conceived. So it wasn't some kind of immaculate conception or whatever you call it.
Yeah, if we take his words at face value, I mean, we have to assume that AWA is not the father. And I don't have any reason not to take his words at face value. He really laid it out pretty clear there.
Yeah, it's like he already laid out like all the other 99% of it. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the only aspect that we still don't know is who the father would be. But there is still, I still believe there's something of AWA in her, because he still does state that she is special. She's more connected to to the world and to the creatures than any other normal Navi. So there is something still special about her. She just wasn't like, not like Jesus. Because I have been saying over and over, I believe she's going to be like Pandora's Messiah, kind of like Jesus. But I guess he just wasn't an immaculate conception like that. He's saying naturally conceived. So I don't think it's like what I think it's Loak in the scene. Obviously, we haven't seen it, but we just got the audio from D23. But I believe it's Loak that jokes, like what if Norm is your father? They were around each other all the time, things like that. But I don't think so. But yeah.
Well, I think
Crazy,
it's
man.
interesting that he said that she's connected, to the world far beyond a normal not V. Because look how much the not V are connected to their world. They care about every aspect of their world, the animals, the creatures, everything, the plants. But she's far beyond that. So I mean, that's very very connected right there in itself. And I'm sure there's a reason behind that. So it's going to be interesting how they play that up, or if we find out who the father is, or it's going to be interesting.
I wonder if it's just gonna be. I kind of like taking something from that Project 880, if you remember, because I mean I just covered it recently, but it's already some of it with learning so much new info about these, like info gets freaking scattered. But I believe in Project 880, wasn't she involved with a actual Navi guide, like their Navi guide?
I'll be honest, I don't remember. I haven't read that in so many years.
So he could take something like that where, when they finally do explain it, it could be like, maybe it was this, random Joe, you know, obviously not crab suit driver, but pretty pretty close.
Not that random.
Crab suit. Oh, crab suit driver. I'm so sorry. He's like, why you gotta put me in every situation, bro? What did I do? Just put me in the damn crab suit, man. Close the hatch. Uh But yeah, man, pretty crazy. I didn't really think this would come, not even in like a cover story to the magazine, which was Total Film, which honestly did not have any of this juicy information, at least when it came to Kiri. Um, so just on like some random Entertainment Weekly, James Cameron breaks down four scenes. It's like, okay, and basically you get like the bombshell, kind of like, oh yeah, this is, her origins. I thought we would have to wait up until the movie, seeing it to really get some of these things confirmed. But hey,
Yeah, I mean, this alone is one of the juiciest details I think we've gotten before the movies come out, and it's like I don't feel like it's getting the proper amount of hype just to be thrown in this random article with him breaking down four photos, because there's so much more there than just talking about a photo. Because I mean, Kiri is very popular amongst people because everybody knows she's special and all the theories going on around her. I'm just really surprised that he shared this with us. But hey, I'm not mad. I think it's cool.
yeah, because I believe the true juiciest like the answers to the mysteries with her are yet to come, and it's maybe
Right.
it's like what truly does make her special. If her actual conception was not the special part, because that's what we thought the actual conception itself was like, that was gonna be the conceived through AI, or something crazy. That's why there were so many theories. And he's like, no, this is the boring part. Like, this is the natural, like that just naturally happened. But the interesting part is yet to come, and obviously he didn't reveal that. He just said she's special. He didn't say why she's special. So Awa, I believe, still has a part to play somehow with Kiri, but it seems like she already knew this from like when they were in the forest. But like the trailer confirms, he doesn't really start opening up, at least to Jake about it, it seems, until they're in the Metkayina, because they're right there, you know, her feet are in the water, and these little creatures like around her feet. But if you look closely, like they're not swimming around his feet. You know what I mean? So she really is like super connected, you know, and that's why maybe even here in this very picture, you know, so many creatures probably just swimming around her. So I believe the most interesting things with her are yet to come. And actually, the very last line, he said that as soon as she dived in here, you know, it was like a transformative experience for her. And all that does for me is bring me back to that 2014 interview with Sigourney Weaver, where she said, my character is going to transform, just because it was a similar word, throughout the sequels. She's gonna have transformations. So, you know, maybe this was just the start of something, you know, awakening within her that we'll see, you know, transform or evolve as we go on. So it was just a similar wording that kind of made me, you know, think about that quote.
Well, it's not something that I thought about a lot, but I always just assumed that they took her avatar body and her human body and buried them together. So it's
yeah,
interesting that
exactly.
they kept it. You know, they kept her. At least
Yeah.
I'm assuming they buried her human body, but they kept her avatar. And I'm curious to why, number one. But you know, maybe someone had a hunch she was pregnant. Maybe not.
I think somebody spoke up and said, wait. You know, I think she might be pregnant. Why? We might have, you know, done something. So you might want to check it out. I'm just saying, you know. Somebody had to have spoken up, bro. So you know, they're about to start, you know, piling the, they got the little wuss sprites in there, and they're like, oh my god. And he's like, wait, just hold on. I think my child is there. So as weird as that is.
That is strange. But interesting. And like you said, I'm just excited that yeah, okay, maybe the actual act of conception isn't that special, but she's still special. We're still gonna go on a journey with her. We're still gonna
Yeah, she's still going to be special. We had Chill Zones here ask, does anyone else like the RDA? Yes. Not that I've like the RDA, but especially with these sequels, I love that because the new purpose of them coming is actually like because Earth is dying. I've mentioned in past streams, there's going to be a lot of innocent people as part of this fight. So not everybody's going to be on board with them. So I can't say I completely hate the RDA. Plus, I mean, come on, like the amp suit, the vehicles are cool. So we might not like the initial, you know, purpose in the first movie, obviously, and in the second one. But I believe with these sequels, it's going to evolve. And I hope, you know, the voice of the people that disagree with it in the end, I hope it gets louder and louder and is the voice that wins, to basically stop the way they're trying to go about it. And then we could eventually, you know, after the fifth movie, come to like that mutual understanding and, you know, coexisting between the Navi and the humans that we know is going to happen, you know, years and years later. So but yeah, man, that is pretty much it, guys. Let's see. Georgia writes, what do we think about the relationship between Loak and Tsireya? I think it's going to be, you know, as it goes on, I think it's already hinted at that it's going to be as important maybe as Jake and Neytiri. You even see the similar posters. You know, they're mirroring the original official poster with this new official poster. and the two heads in the original were Jake and Neytiri, but now you have Jake and Neytiri's head and the Loak and Tsireya. So I think that's a clear hint that it's going to be a big the next big relationship in the overall saga. But all right, guys, it was just a quick stream to kind of go over this with you guys. I appreciate everybody that tuned in, and it's craziness, but tomorrow is where we had our actual next planned live stream. Tomorrow we're going to dive into that first half of the High Ground comic, and if this one revealed a lot of the origins on Kiri here, if you want to know basically Spider's also just origin and all of your questions answered basically on Spider, then you'll want to tune in to tomorrow's stream where we're going to go through that first half of Volume 1 to the High Ground. I hope a lot of you have been able to grab that comic. Let us know. Have you guys been able to find it in your comic shops, or have you called any? If you haven't yet, you can call them and they'll order it for you. It might take like around about a week or so. So tomorrow it'll be at 8 p.m. Pacific time, I believe. But I'll have once we set it up, it'll be here on the channel. You'll see it. There'll be a countdown to when it starts. It'll tell you the time and everything. But yeah, that'll be tomorrow. Drew's back.
Hey,
You
bud,
good, Drew?
Yeah, we're having some storms here, and I lost the internet, so I joined on my phone. So
Okay. All right. Oh, darn. And he's gone again. But yeah, so Drew's having some problems right now. I guess it's storming over there. Hopefully everything's okay. But yes, it'll be in the night. It's only because that's when it's most convenient for me and Drew to stream, after work and everything. So it'll be tomorrow night should be, like I said, 8 p.m. Pacific time. But I'll have it up soon and on the channel. And so if you have the notifications on, you'll be notified. And you could just hit waiting on the video when it comes up, or you can hit to be notified. And that way you'll be reminded when we go live for that one. But yeah, so if you guys haven't grabbed your copy yet, or if you haven't been able to get one, or there are no comic shops around you, definitely tune in tomorrow for that one, because that also had some really good stuff. There was some interesting stuff with Kiri in that, but obviously not to the extent that this one went to, where he basically laid out her origin. But tomorrow, it's Spider's origin, mother, father, yeah, so biological mother, biological father revealed. So yeah, come back for that one. We're gonna go panel by panel, so we're not gonna skip anything. But it's why we're breaking it up into two parts. Tomorrow it'll be the first half of the Volume 1, which is gonna be like 40 or so pages, and then the following stream, I believe the next Friday, will be the second half. And honestly, guys, it's kind of be mainly High Ground streams, because just like 2 weeks after we finish the Volume 1, like recapping that one, Volume 2 is coming out in comic shops on November 30th. Where for any other major retailer, if you guys are waiting, it's like December 3rd, December 7th. I forgot, but it's in December. They have the major retailers releasing them 1 week right after another, like with the third volume coming out after The Way of Water even releases. I think it's December 20th for the third volume. So if you want to know all the information of the High Ground and go through it panel by panel with us, check our live streams. We'll keep letting you guys know. That way, going into The Way of Water, you already know the entire High Ground story, where he even recently talked about it was the original movie he had planned, and then he just switched. He moved it up in the timeline, and now we got The Way of Water. But yeah, so if you're interested in Navi in space, and then information, obviously, like I said, on Spider and just what their lives have been like on the in between, and that initial battle again with the RDA before we even get to the Way of Water. Tune in for those. But I appreciate everybody here. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's see. Hold on. One final question from Afton Tower. Question: when is November 18th? Like day of the week? For me, it's gonna be on a Friday. So tomorrow is gonna be our initial one for the first half, and then the 18th is gonna be the stream for the second half of Volume 1. And then it'll be a stream on to some other topics, maybe some new news that comes out on the 25th, that Friday. And then Friday the 2nd, Wednesday the 30th, because we're going to cover the first part of Volume 2 on the day it drops, which is Wednesday the 30th. We're going to start doing 2 streams a week on that final week of November going into the first weekend of December. So it's just going to be pretty hectic going right into the Way of Water. And even the Friday the Way of Water is out, we're going to stream here, give our initial first review, like our thoughts on the movie. It's just going to be, raw thoughts, nothing, too in depth, because obviously we're going to see it many times over. So not every little Easter egg or little thing is going to be, pointed out, but just if that day, if you guys watch it early in the day or something, if you guys want to tune in for that one, it'll be cool just kind of talking to each other and just get our, thoughts on the movie. But yeah, we're going to have, I'll maybe put even I'll come up with the whole schedule that I'll probably put on the community tab or something so that everybody can know. But yeah, tune in tomorrow, 8 p.m. Pacific time, and we'll see you there for the first half of High Ground Volume 1. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and this will be us signing out.